Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's your boy Christian Martinez with Super Truck Podcast, bringing it to you live today. Bad carriers costing you thousands. So let's give it a minute and let everybody join. What are we at? Tuesday? All right, guys. Tuesday morning. Hope everybody's utilization is up. Everybody's out on the road, getting it, making that money. All right, let's give it a few for people to join. Here we go. Arturo, thanks for joining. Ariane, welcome. Here we go, guys. So just a reminder, this channel is actually about putting good information in front of good people, especially to my people who are thinking about becoming owner operators. The more you know, the better off you're going to be. So this segment here is going to give you some tools in order to identify bad carriers and what that will cost you if you're not doing your homework and not considering all options. So before we do get started, we're actually going to wait for a few more people to join, and then we will start the party. All right, here we go. Here we go. Just give it a few for people to join. All right. All right, guys, just giving it a little bit more. And today's topic again is going to be bad carrier is costing you thousands. And so, anybody thinking about being an owner operator and is going to be shopping around, what are some of the things that you should be considering? And also, guys who are presently with certain carriers that it's kind of not working out, going to ask yourself some tough questions before you make a decision to jump. And that's what we're going to cover today and dialogue a little bit about that. All right, so we're just waiting for a few more people to join, and we'll get this going. And just got kind of a friendly reminder out there for all my owner operators. Don't forget your 2290s are due, obviously. So you make sure you get it done within that window before you get any late fees on that. So make sure you get that done. Just a friendly reminder on that. All right. All right, so here we go. So as we're getting started, man, I was actually watching saw a video yesterday, and man, it hit home because this actually video was about predatory towing. So it cost the carrier $20,000 to get their loaded trailer back from the tow company, obviously due to an accident. Man, and the reason that that's so frustrating is because, man, there's not like real regulation on that, on how much these people could charge. And again, this is kind of a sidebar to today's topic, but just kind of share like it's so common, or more common than a lot of people would think. Um, just in the last 2 years, man, I have personally seen this 3 times. So, first incident, a young gentleman got caught up. He was actually suspended for child support. So I guess he didn't know about it, or whatever the situation may be. However, it does get towed for a total of like 5 miles. So it wasn't even like this astronomical mileage or anything like that. So anyway, 5 miles, boom, $6,000. Man, that is an astronomical fee for that. I get the situation he was in. He was suspended, all that good stuff. However, that is a lot of money for that type of mileage. I had a more complex situation where truck and trailer get towed, and it goes to the tow company. 20K, actually 17, just like right about the same as this other carrier. So astronomical fee. uh, Everybody ponies up. A certain portion of it gets paid. However, the driver's side, nothing was done on the repair side. So the gentleman doing the repair to the truck doesn't pay his portion. However, they're holding both units together, and that's the situation that carrier's in. They're holding the both units together and won't separate them. So either you're going to resolve it all, or you ain't getting it. So a lot of that, man, is just that predatory towing. Those astronomical fees that are on call for. I mean, in order to separate the two, the guy's just not even willing to work with anybody. Everybody explained to him that he's an owner operator and he's responsible for his truck payments, and he made a deal, and this guy would not let go. Long story short, maybe I'll do an episode just all the extreme details on that. But the guy ended up giving in the title. He had to take the title in lieu of outstanding storage fees, because that's where they're going to get you, right? As you're trying to resolve this problem, the storage fee starts accumulating. So every day it gets worse, and every day it starts to be more than that 20K that they're charging you. And they do mention ways to manage it. However, you don't have a lot of choices when there's an accident and people are getting towed and all of that. It's not like you have time on your side. A lot of that stuff is happening so quick that the cops are just calling the tow company, right? And they're from their Rolodex. You don't really have that opportunity to shop around. So guys, like, I think we will do a separate podcast video. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. We can do a video on that. Remember, those videos air after 5, Monday to Friday. Make sure you catch that so that you can see, get that information and put that in front of other people, owner operators like yourself, or individuals who are thinking of becoming owner operators. All right, guys. So here we go. So how do you what are some red flags that a carrier is holding you back, or that they're not going to be the right fit for you? All right. So as a future owner operator, for those guys that are thinking of becoming that, you have to ask the right questions. So one of the things is, not necessarily is a forced dispatch alone just a bad thing, because if they're very efficient and effective, they don't really need too many hands in that cookie jar in order to make those decisions. For example, for us, I don't know. Some guys might label it a forced dispatch, but at the end of the day, when you have a dispatcher that can hit, there is room for dialogue and consideration. But sometimes, for the better good of the owner operator and the holistic outcome, forced dispatch just might be the way to go. So as long as they can hit and they're effective and efficient and the money is reflecting it. So not necessarily that, but shady deductions is one thing. Um, that's what you have to pay attention to. So remember, not everything that shines is gold in this business. Especially, let's say somebody is doing a 90-10 split. You got to know there's more cost to doing business than that split. So you want to dig in a little bit deeper on that, because it will cost you, compounded week after week after week after week. So you want to know your true value, right? So for example, here we keep it simple, 25-75 split. And what that's going to do there is transparency is king. You know exactly there are no hidden deductions. Yeah, you're seeing the settlements. You know week after week after week what you're responsible for, and it's clear. I actually think in an environment like a 90-10, you're actually probably going to end up paying like 35 to 45 split. It's just done in a different way that it's happening right up under you, and then it's harder to notice. Uh, but just check that settlement. Or look at the type of deductions that you're getting, to just compare apples to apples, right? That's one of the biggest things that you want to be doing. So we got some questions from in the comments. Remember, when we're recruiting people, they reach out, they're asking these questions. So just kind of highlighting a little bit of these. My carrier takes 35%, but says it covers everything. Is that fair or robbery? We do 25/75. I know what comes with that. So our program is going to be way more than fair for an individual to be successful. Again, we're providing trailers, car, the insurance is part of the package deal. You're getting extremely high discounts at the fuel station. 100% of that is being passed along to you. So it would be hard to say just by based on that percentage, because you gotta elaborate a little bit more as to what you're getting with that 35%. So that is pretty steep. However, what comes with that? What is your savings and where? So I don't know, maybe the maintenance on that trailer is included and you don't have to touch that, or there's got to be some kind of other value add to that. So it can't just be because they have a certain dedicated customer. That's just not enough to do that. So you would have to elaborate a little bit more. Isn't switching carriers risky if I have a family to feed? Yes, it is. But everything that we do, guys, we talk about it all the time. Risk comes a reward. But isn't it riskier to stay and just and die a slow death? So you want to be able to handle this as a business owner. So your mindset should be, how do you minimize cost, right? I mean, how do you minimize loss? So if you're noticeably watching this get worse and worse week after week, month after month, you will have to make a change, because it's riskier to stay at that point. So unfortunately, I guess right now you're just not, they don't have you uncomfortable enough where you hate it to make a change. You're just uncomfortable. But again, you want to do it now before you're doing it from a point of desperation, and then it's going to get worse, because now your judgment is going to be a little bit clouded. So pay attention to that. uh do I look unprofessional jumping carriers too often? Yes. So there's an extreme to everything, right? And that's what this is one's going to be about. So it's not about job hopping. That's not what's going to cause a solution, because at some point it can't be that all these carriers just suck that bad, right? At some point you got to look in that mirror and say, all right, why am I jumping? What is not hitting? So at the very least, before you make your next jump, take the top three priorities you have as to why you're jumping. And those are the next questions you're asking the next carrier, and you should be demanding real answers. And not just fluff and not just what they're giving you, but at the same time, have realistic, realign your expectations. Is what you're looking for realistic? Is what you're looking for, plausible? Does it exist? Before you start making jumps, being hopeful that it does. So yeah, you do not want to fall into being that job hopper. I don't think that's a good strategy. I don't even think that that's going to make a major difference in your business at that point. Um, because I think it's going to get easier and easier, and then you forgot what you came for. And I have seen, man, where, like, I just think I call them window shoppers, man. There's a lot of guys that's what they do. I don't know if they just get like kicks out of this or what, but I have seen people just job hop, job hop, job hop, and they don't even spend enough time with the organization to say whether it's going to be a good fit or if it's going to be a bad fit. So you definitely don't want to fall into this bucket, because at some point, you become, it's going to appear as a very unreliable source. there is an expense to you as an owner operator to join on with someone. So at the end of the day, you're just hemorrhaging money in a different way now. So you went from bad to worse. So it's just be cautious with that. That's definitely a good point. Um, they keep saying just wait until it gets better. How long is too long to wait? All right. So how long is too long to wait? Well, one of the things that you should be considering here, what are we waiting for? So let's have that clear expectation, right? What is it that you're going to be waiting for? There's a lot of guys that are waiting for the market to change or for this customer to change. They're waiting for this to change or that sales guy to come here and get work. All right, but we don't control any of that. So your hyper focus should be on what do you control? uh, what can you adapt, how can you adapt, reinvent yourself in your business and your strategy as to how can you make more money? So one of the things I would say is, when you go to a different carrier to explore some options, ask who's the hardest hitter. Let me see those settlements as to who the hardest hitter is, and you're going to view their tactics on how they run their business and then compare them to yours. So are they aligning? So if you're running like that guy and you're not making nowhere near what that guy is making, then you got some issues here, right? You got to resolve some stuff. But if your running pattern and what you're willing to do is nothing close to that guy, have a measuring system, right? Because you have to be changing that. But if both parties, if the carrier is actually just saying, let's wait for things to get better, and you're saying, let's get what, you both are just sitting there waiting for things to get better and nobody is doing anything, I don't think you're in a good spot, guys. At that point, for sure, you need to make that change. A good option is Voyager Nation. Give us a call at 863-342-5171. As a matter of fact, you can even call now. Got a recruiter on standby. You definitely want to make a change in order to have a different outcome. So you don't want to get stuck just waiting. Um, can loyalty to the wrong carrier actually make me go broke slowly? Yeah. I mean, that's for sure. At that point, it doesn't even have to be because of money. It can be because they have poor safety practices, and maybe you're not even the guy doing those bad habits. However, others are, and now you're a target, out there by DOT. And so they're looking for a reason. Yeah, there are guys that have several alerts, and they're going to be targeted. So if you're part of that fleet and you're always getting put into a scale house and they have a mission, you will be part of that. So that can make you go broke for sure. And also, paying attention to certain signs, like we said before, like slow pay. So if those are like slow pay companies, and or maybe they're missing loads, hey, please wait, for those financial reasons, the fuel card isn't working, those type of things could be so problematic that and you just stay there believing it will get better. Guys, those are like neon light red, like, hey, you got a problem here, you better be making a change soon. So again, guys, it's tough year for a lot of carriers. Again, protect your business as a carrier is going to protect theirs as well. So ultimately, it should be that partnership that excels and propels your business. So you got to pay attention to a lot of these details. All right. Um, what would you do if you were in my shoes and clearing under 2K a weekly? Weekly. All right. Expand what I'm willing to do. I mean, maybe I don't know enough about this guy right here, but I would expand what I'm willing to do, and then I would compare my new outcome to the old, and I would just follow the results. So then I'm following facts. So if just a simple tweak in the way this can bring me over that 2K, that's a simple fix. And if this guy, if nobody's willing to do that for you, I mean, we could definitely help an individual like this out. It's 863-342-5171. We got the programs to keep a guy moving, and that this one should be an easy fix. They guilt trip me into staying. What would you say to someone like me? I think that, man, we have a problem here because that's a sign of major weakness by the organization because they're not giving you viable resolutions to your problem. They're not giving you for them to give you results. It's going to be problem because they're so weak here. They're trying to keep you based on emotions, not effective dispatching, not effective solutions. So know, a conversation should look more along the lines of, "Hey, man, I know you like to be home every weekend. We need to stretch this out a little bit. Give me home every other weekend because that's going to give me the opportunity to reposition you on a Monday morning anywhere but Florida. So that Monday hitter will make that whole week worth it, and we will be in a new financial bracket. And all I need is 2 weeks. Let's try it." So, that is heading towards the right area. That is what we would tell our owner operators. So if they're not telling you ways that you can fix your situation, just kind of doing it emotionally, it's already broken. So if you're in that position, for sure you gotta get out of that box, um, and consider something different. All right. Uh, I run hard, but my net is in the trash. Shouldn't that be a red flag? Yes, yes and no. So I would start unpacking it and looking at a couple things, right? So one of the things that you want to be looking at is, what is your MPG? Is that what's causing you to be in the trash? Are breakdowns causing you to be in the trash? So I would start there on the factors that you can control and the factors of what your business is structured like and what you're responsible for. So once you determine that it's not you, then for sure, if there's no room for improvement there, then yeah, you want to be looking at the way that they're running you. You want to be looking at if they're suggesting alternatives, if you have voiced your opinion, right? So yeah, for sure. It is smarter to leave a bad carrier with no plan or stay and play it safe. As a business owner, you always want to have a plan, right? So if you're not, if, like, what's the old saying? Like, if you don't have a plan, then you're planning to fail, right? So you don't want to ever not have a plan. Yeah, in order to hit the goal, there has to be a goal, number one, and then you have to have a plan to get to that goal. So what I'm going to say here is the following, right? You want to even plan your exit strategy so you're not wasting any time. So even here at Voyager, we do a nice job of working with individuals to conduct an orientation, let's say on a Friday. And the reason for that Friday is because then that individual can hit the ground run. He gets that load already for Monday dispatch. So his first week is going to have a full solid week. You're not going to get that partial settlement check, and right, because you're going to have expenses when you switch a carrier, whether you got plates to think about. You may or may not have switched insurances because, although you were under their program, if you don't continue to be leased under there, now you find yourself shopping for insurance. And for the most part, you're going to probably look at a down payment, fuel to get to the new location. So there's a lot that happens with that you have to consider. So you have to plan that accordingly so you don't miss a beat. You want to hit the ground running as quick as possible. I don't, I highly recommend. I don't condone, I guess, or I don't agree with the guys that are going to do that vacation like right in the interim. I think this move is going to cost your business money. That's just not the time and the place for that. That could come later, but at the moment, that's not the time and the place. And also, your exit strategy should be done calculated. You got to read your contract. You got to make sure that you're not just leaving things hanging, and so that you get your escrow back. Because chances are you do have an escrow back, whether that means putting that trailer back exactly where you got it from, whether that means how long you have before they get their equipment back, their plate. Do they have all the original BOLs? Everything that comes along with that. And there's no, you don't need to burn a bridge to make a point. That's not what trucking should be about. So you want to make sure you're crossing those T's and dotting those I's so that once you bounce from it, that nothing is haunting you, that you left the trailer where you shouldn't have, and now you're trying to juggle two pieces and dodge phone call. That's just poor business practice. You don't want to be there. All right. Um, how do I leave without burning bridges or losing my next opportunity? Well, exactly what I just said here. So you want to make sure that you're hyper focused on having that good plan, because you never know. And so it's just business at the end of the day, my people. So leave them doors open. Trucking is a big industry. However, it's also small. So here you go. Uh, is loyalty the reason I'm not growing or scaling my trucking business? It just depends. What are you being loyal to, right? So there are things that you have to be, number one, loyal to yourself, loyal to your business practice, and being and doing what you said you would do. So you have to first be accountable for that, and then after that is, everything else that comes along with that. So the carrier is not going to force you to stay there. So you staying there is going to be your decision, right? So if some things are not aligning that you cannot control, then definitely it's time to make a change. Um, all right, what does real loyalty look like in this game? Because I think it got twisted. Yeah, for sure. I think it evolves every day, man. I think a lot of we find ourselves in these positions where it's like you against me, and the carrier against the owner operator, and possibly the broker, and who can take advantage of who, and it escalates into that when it really should be about trucking, facts, and numbers. That's really what comes down to it. Because in this business, we all know it's a volatile business, right? Um, and I think when times are good, you see less of this shit floating around, and when times get a little bit tougher, then all of a sudden the blame game starts. So you got to know your environment, right? And in order to be able to thrive in it. So here you go. How do you break the company man mentality and start thinking like a business owner? Um, well, I would say a good place to start is to be open minded. And to suggest and to get ideas and information from people that have what you want. So, for example, it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody has to have a fleet of 70 trailers and 60 for that to be the only person you're trying to get advice from, right? You might want a skill set. So, for example, let's say you have a dispatcher that kicks ass. We got plenty of those here at Voyager Nation. Um, so now they have something you want. They have a skill set to dispatch. They understand the market. So to have an understanding of that, you want to learn from the best of the people who have that skill set. So again, it doesn't just mean somebody owns like a few trucks and all that. It just everybody wants to learn different things. Everybody has a different approach. Everybody has a different plan. So how do you break that mindset? Look at those individuals that have that. The more you know about the business, the greater your level of confidence will grow, and you start making decisions as an informed business owner. So being open and adaptable to receive that information and be able to make changes is how you break that company man mentality. But if, I mean, you just bought a truck thinking that just the money rolls in without changing your habits, then it's going to be a long road. I hope you make it, but it's going to be an extremely painful road. Uh, Here we go. What's the psychological hold these carriers have over drivers who should have left years ago? Um, First of all, I don't know, man. I think that's you're deciding to stay. It's nothing other than that. We can hide behind the carriers making me stay, or they have a good game. That's easy to hide behind that. But at the end of the day, if you wanted to make a change, you would have done so, you know, and made a couple calls, and just see if there's better opportunity where, much like us, like, right. So we offer that 25-75 split with a lot of bells and whistles that come along with that for you to be successful. But you're only going to find out about our program if you're going to call us at 863-342-5171 by talking to one of our guys, and recruiting, and being open-minded on what it has to offer. uh, and then now that you're educated, you can make that business decision. And again, it's going to be fear of changing your environment, but you got to be able to consider making a change. All right. uh, how do you confront a carrier that's cutting corners on compliance and safety? All right. um, you're either going to stay or you're not. I think that's how you're going to confront this. You're going to have a choice to make. You're either going to, go along for this ride or you're not, because the chances of you confronting a carrier, a well-established carrier, let's say, and that you're single-handedly going to change their business practices is a long shot, right? So why is anybody going to change that for you? You have to understand that you're coming on to them. And if they have these bad habits, they're probably not going to change them for you. So the real question is, do you want to be in that environment? Is what's that going to do for your business? What's that going to do to your PSP, to your license? How will this impact you as a business owner? Because remember, if you stick around too long and now those things get, kind of start to rub off on you and now you have blemishes, that's going to impact the ability for you to make a move, because now you don't look as marketable as you should. All right. So that one there, I just think the decision is going to be yours to make. All right. Um, why do some drivers confuse being comfortable with being treated right? I think complaciveness. You kind of forget. A lot of guys forget what they came for. Just like anything, dogma, right? They tend to forget about that growth mindset and got comfortable. They like a certain lane. It's easy. They're getting home at a certain time. That's cool. So now that company mindset kind of starts to come back a little bit because it feels familiar. You get a routine, and you forget to push yourself. So I think that's what confuses people. Uh, and now remember, you're as an owner operator, you're looking to leverage your business. You're looking to expand and make sure that you're making the most money as possible. All right. Is it normal to feel like a hostage when you're under a bad lease? No, man. I think that's extreme. I don't think being held, feeling like you're a hostage anywhere is a good feeling. Uh, with that mindset, just bad shit is gonna happen in general. Like you're just, it's hard to grow or improve, grow in an environment like that if you're feeling that way. Everything looks like shit, smells like shit. So that guy, I would for sure, definitely make a change on that regard. All right. Uh, if they won't teach me the business side of trucking, are they trying to keep me dependent? No, not necessarily. I think not everybody wants to learn everything. Remember, owner operators come in different shapes and sizes. Different people want different things. So based on wanting those different things, you also have to put your hand up and find the right people in the organization. So, for example, here at Voyager, we're way more than willing to share ideas. Actually, for us, it's a win to see an individual start his own authority, and he moves on to do it for himself. Like that's kind of like a badge of honor that we have. Like hell yeah, he did the work, obviously, and all of that. We just kind of gave some guidance and all that. But to see that happen is a true win, because there's enough money out there for everybody. It's not that environment that you know we're trying to build our mountain by knocking his down. Like that's not how this works. But again, like are you leaning on the right people? Are you exposed to the right people? So you definitely want to check that, especially. And now it's going to depend how big that company is. You know what I mean? So if it's only a few people in there and that's kind of the environment, then you got a different decision to make. So if it's a bigger organization and there's a few people that work there, but you haven't quite been exposed, poke around, ask a couple questions. I'm sure somebody's willing to lean on. Somebody's willing to be there for you to lean on and get a lot of those questions answered. I know here at Voyager, like I mentioned, we do that all the time. Whether it's helping, identify a guy how to get his own plate, whether it's as simplistic as that, as a 2290. Those bad boys are not complicated, but they can be if you've never done it. And then once you do it for the first time, you can bang out the second one, and you're teaching people how to do it. But it's guiding people to get to the right information so that they can do better things for themselves and have different types of results. Um, why is it so hard to walk away from a company that clearly isn't helping me grow? I think it's what we talked about, guys. It's the complaciveness. You get comfortable with the people that surround you. You get comfortable with the lanes, let's say, with how you're doing business, and so now your vision is blurred a little bit. You know what I mean? And then you can even end up being comfortable with like guys, like just do a gut check, do an audit on your settlement check. So when you look at your settlement this time around, you look at your deductions, right? Calculate that number. What is the real percentage that you're paying to be there? All right, so it's either going to look as simplistic as ours, right, where the only deduction that's going to be there is, like, let's say a guy's been here for 15 weeks, so the escrow is out of the way, all that good stuff has been taken care of. His only deduction would be the $50 on the maintenance for the maintenance of the trailer, and obviously whatever the guy's using in fuel. But that's it. Clear cut every week, week after week after week. Now, if you're at a certain location, I've seen places where, all right, now you got the trailer rental. Then you have, admin fees. You have ELD usage. Some people, they're going to charge for that. They're going to nickel and dime you for paperwork, admin. So they, you want to have a clear understanding of what your deductions look like, and is it worth it for you to actually be there. All right, so you definitely wanted to you want to do that. you know um, my carrier talks a good game, but the rate cons don't match. Am I being played? uh okay, so I'm not sure what he's trying to say, if the rate cons he thinks they're being changed or something like that. So I can elaborate on how we do things here, right? So for our guys, everybody's getting that original rate con. Why? Because transparency is king. What we're going to do is it gives you also a track record of, you're going to see exactly what these customers are paying. So that's flat out transparency. But then whatever we're looking at, everyone's looking at. That is the that. So market's the market, is driven. No one controls it. But for sure, it should be given to you, my friend. So if you're not getting that, phone number should be on the Raycon. Um, I'm not saying you call, but if you did, numbers should match. Here you go. Um, why do carriers act like I owe them something just because they gave me a shot? All right, so I don't necessarily, we don't view it that way here. So for us is not so much that. For us is to make every individual successful. So we spent some time orientation. Well, first the initial phone call from the recruiter and us, and then you welcome to orientation. So now everything is progressing. You meet your dispatcher. Our goal is for you to win. Our goal is to hit the financial expectations that you're looking for based on how you're running your business. Everybody's going to run it a little bit different. So, when our dispatch team is offering our guys, loads and what trajectory, what lanes we're going to do and so forth, it's not with a sense of arrogance, but it is with a sense of knowledge, and a sense of knowledge where, they're looking at the market. They're posting the empty trucks. They've called 30, 40 brokers before they're offering you any type of load. They're bidding on this stuff. They're fighting with AI. Some of these brokers have AI now when you call, and it takes a minute to get through. So there's so much behind the scenes that happens. I just don't know if maybe that's what this is referencing, where a person thinks like, oh man, you're only giving me a few options, you think I owe you. No, man, there's a lot of homework that comes with that. But however, it's important you align yourself with a company, with an organization just like Voyager, where you're part of the process. You're part of that, looking for the solutions. We're in it together. There's no way I can do this by myself, and you can't do it by yourself either. So we definitely need each other in order for this to happen. So that's everything that we're considering when we're working with an owner operator. So if the individual um, asked for, let's say, be the top grocer of he wants to be the top dog. Not a problem. That dispatcher is looking for just that. He's piecing everything together in competition with other dispatchers to make sure his guy's the top grocer. Um, and he's studying that market. And when you got that top dog doing that, there's no room. There's not a lot of room for conversation. Like, they got a plan, and some of the plans may be may seem a little risky, and you may not understand it right away. So they're walking you through it. But at the end of the day, to be that top dog there, there's not a lot of room for negotiation. And we can't just pretend that every we can talk 5 minutes on the phone about every load. That load's gone. Like, there has to be a trust factor. And I get it, trust is earned not by talking about it, but by presentation, like what we do. So the numbers are there, settlement is there, you're making money, and that's what you should follow. Follow the results. Follow the results. That's I can't preach that enough. All right. Uh, what's worse, being underpaid or starting over with someone new? I think not getting on being underpaid, but again, like, what are the habits, right? But starting something new means you have a chance. You just stay there getting underpaid and stay there getting deductions out the ass, and then thinking that that's going to change. It's not. So you're just stuck. You're not growing. Actually, you're probably slowing the growth of your company. So starting something new, but again, not jumping into a job hopper mentality where you just think that one day you're going to find that magical carrier that just has everything that you've been looking for, right? So you got to really unpack what is it that you're looking for, what is a realistic expectation. Okay. uh So I've been stuck with my carrier for 4 years. Am I being loyal or just stuck? I don't know, man. Like, there's always a choice. You could have always left. So I don't. Maybe you're just being loyal. Maybe there's a little bit of fear in there and making changes, or maybe you just haven't talked to the right carrier to make that jump. Maybe something hasn't caught your eye. I would suggest you give us a call and let us show you what we have, because it's probably going to be enough to make you make that change. So that's for sure. Um, how do you, how do you tell the difference between a slow season and a bad carrier? Adaptability, man. I think you want to be looking at a carrier who can offer you options, and the options are given to you every day, and a carrier should be pushing you every single day to be better. You want those Friday phone calls for Monday's load. uh, can they catch you on a bad day? And we're all human, we have a bad day, and that wasn't the call. It's something you didn't want to talk about at the moment, but nevertheless, they're doing their job. They're pushing you for Monday because you came for money. So it's not about taking you away from home time. It's not about, oh man, I've been out on the road for 2 weeks, and now let me catch a breather. It's not about that. It's about having a disciplined mindset to help your business grow. You want them in that mind frame. You don't want anything other than that, because if you start conditioning to don't if you start conditioning weakness into that dispatcher, he's taking those same traits and habits to negotiate with a broker, and now that's not going to be in your favor. So it's not like you could turn a lot of that on when it's convenient and turn it off when it's not, right? You want to make sure that that dude's consistent. You want to make sure that he's vicious in regards to that. You want him to be persuasive. You want him to be influencing, because he's going to be that with the broker. So he has to be that with you, because that's who he is. Right now, if you get a dispatcher that just breaks every time you raise your voice, all right, that's cool, but what do you think he's doing with that broker? So are you even getting the rates that you deserve? It just, you want to consider all of those things, right? That's I'm just saying right now, man. Maybe you're getting loaded or unloaded at this moment. Like, just think about that. Like, what is his demeanor, and can he be consistent with his demeanor? Right. That's the true sign of a good carrier with a good team behind them. Um, and so that you push forward. So what to look for in a solid carrier when you're leasing on, I would say, is making sure that there's 100% transparency, and in that means the good, the bad, and everything that comes along with that. Everything costs money, right? So again, you break it, you fix it. You want them to be transparent about that, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just that, but like the rate confirmations. Here it is, transparency. You're getting the original rate confirmation. That's how you're getting the zip codes. And what that does is that now, even if a broker, let's say you took a, they're telling you about that predatory rate con. Why does that mean? Why is that so important to us? Because we're in business together. So once you see that predatory rate con, and you're getting the list of it, and you're asking like, hey man, like look at this deduction here. If you don't track, can you track? The reason that we're being honest and transparent about that, is because that is going to be your bill if you don't track. It's quite simple. It's going to happen. So it's a matter of being upfront about it. So, I hear a lot of people always say like, I'm trying to be honest. I'm trying, let me be honest for a minute. Why are you trying? Just be 100% transparent. So we both know exactly where we stand. It's no shock to you if later you didn't track and they're deducting $200. We're asking if you want to take the risk. We're in it together. So if we say no and we ask them to remove this, so the idea is that the functionality is to how do we collectively work together to make the best business decisions and make sure that you get to the next level. All right. Another thing you want to look at is that strong dispatcher. Uh, and again, we just talked about that a little bit. So, you know, that bad carrier is if that dispatcher is too soft. If that dispatcher is a yes sir and he's just agreeing with everything you say, you're not going to be in a good position. That dispatcher does not have his own mind frame. That dispatcher doesn't know how to push the limits. That dispatcher is yesing you to death and is yesing the broker to death in any rates. You're getting low hanging fruit, and now it doesn't jive. You want to be having good, healthy conversation. People who challenge you, everybody gets challenged, and that's how you stay on your game. You know, so don't necessarily view it as combative. I think a lot of people fall into that mind frame that they think that if a dispatcher isn't a yeser, they're just combative, and that's not necessarily the case. So you want to be able to take a look at that. All right, and then the carrier support. What does this carrier offer you for you to be successful, right? And I'm not just talking about like intangible things. I'm talking about real programs that really affect you, that really make a difference. So, for example, we offer the two different fuel cards. Guys could toggle between the two, but you have to trip plan. So they're not magic cards that are just going to work just like that, right? You got to do some homework, man. You got to be able to trip plan accordingly, route yourself, see which one is offering you a better savings, and capitalize on that one in the moment. I'm just giving you the resources, but you got to work them. So, boom, you have that. Top of the line trailers. So that's going to make sure that you're not getting rejected at any location, right? You don't have a rust bucket. You don't have we're not dealing with other things that breakdowns like that. So your responsibility, it's not going to keep itself like that. Boom. Our guys are just, they got to communicate. Hey, this is happening, this, the other, sending pictures with safety, allowing safety to reroute that trailer, do what they got to do to keep it in optimal condition. So again, that support comes from the position of working together, because that's the only way it's going to get done, right? You want to be you want to have that mind frame. So you gotta work the program in order for it to serve you. So that's here we go. That's what everything that we're going to offer here. Um, so should you start your own authority or just find a better partner? That's always the question, man. If you're thinking of owning already, if you're thinking of doing that your own authority simply because you just want to see a higher gross, not necessarily, man. There's so much to consider in something like that. You want to be able to consider, your ability to do business. Have you been dispatching? Have you booked loads? The factoring, the insurance costs. Do you have a trailer? Or are you trying to do this power only? I would not suggest that you do this power only. You want to make sure that you already have a trailer in place, minimize all that deadhead. Again, that's an opinion, and there are going to be a lot of opinions out there, and a lot of everybody does it differently. And then that's the crazy part. Like, you're going to get advice from all kinds of corners. But what I am saying is, you shouldn't just want to do your own authority from a level of frustration. You want to make that decision because you're ready. You want to make the decision because it's just your next natural organic move. You've done a lot of things already to build up to that, where it's only natural that that step is coming. But people tend to do too much too fast, and when you do that, it's not going to end well. So you thought you were frustrated now, you're gonna find out if you're trying to do everything at once. So I would not recommend that. Remember, you're gonna be able to keep your purchasing power in your pocket, right? Because if you can start your own authority right now, put a down payment on insurance and do everything, right? You're financially strong. You can do that. No one's taking that from you. It's in your back pocket. Be patient. Art of war. Know when to strike. You know, so if you lack the ability to dispatch a little bit, then you got to time it accordingly. Timing is everything, right? When are you ready? When do you feel you have the necessary skills in order to do it yourself?